Okay, in the Blackboard folder for this week, you'll see this tissues self-quiz. So I want to go through this and make sure you guys are able to identify these different tissues. So we'll start in the front, and you tell me what the tissue is. So the first one, Chia, what do you think? Yep, simple squamous epithelium, because I can see these aren't individual cells here. These are piles of, not piles, but layers of cells. It's a single layer. This is lung tissue that's been sliced. It looks like there's more than one layer just because when we make the slice, it's not a perfect, every one layer of cells we slice it. It's a little messy when we're preparing these slides, but this is lung tissue. So this is simple squamous on the edges. So to classify it, it falls under what category? Epithelial, and where you find it is in the lungs or the capillaries, and it's simple squamous. So any one of those questions you could be asked on the lab exam. Where is it found? How is it classified? Or what is the name of the tissue? All right, next. How about this one? Ryan.
Yeah, it's regular.
Notice this has the vertical lines that are running parallel or perpendicular to the parallel fibers. These are protein fibers, not all collagen here.
Aurelian?
This one is skeletal muscle, and you can tell by looking at the vertical lines, right? So you see long pink fibers going, side to side, and then when you see the vertical stripes on it, that's unique to skeletal muscle. And how would you classify this one, Ryan? What group does it fall into?
Muscle.
Right. And where would you find it?
Attached to bones.
Attached to bones. All right, this one, Noah. So we've got long pink fibers here, no vertical stripes.
Is it the fibrosis?
Yep, the fibrous or dense regular collagenous. And how would we classify that? Connective, and where would you find it?
Tendons.
Yep, ligaments and tendons. Good. So don't confuse this with this. The vertical stripes tell us it's muscle, not fibrous or dense regular. Okay, how about this one? Nate. This one is the one we called fisheye soup.
Is that the
Hyaline cartilage is correct. And where do we find hyaline cartilage?
we find it the ribs,
The ribs, trachea, right, nose, joints. And how would you classify it? What major category? Connective. Good. All right, Tish, this one. This one is the one that looks kind of like chicken wire. All big open cells.
Is it the simple squamous?
No, because simple squamous has layers of cells around the edges with visible nuclei, and it's not quite as uniform. Adipose, good. Adipose tissue has this chicken wire appearance with the big open cells, and the nucleus is pushed to the edge because of that big oil droplet. Where do we find adipose tissue?
In breast, kidneys, under the skin.
Yep, packaging or houses the kidneys and underneath the skin, breast tissue, and it's classified as what type of tissue?
Connective tissue.
Connective, good. Laura, how about this one right here, this layer?
Simple columnar.
Yeah, simple columnar. Where would we find it? We would classify it as epithelial. Where would you find it? Digestive organs, lining the digestive organs. So this is where your food would be, in this white area here. That's where the food is, and then we absorb it into that columnar layer. All right, number 6. Cassie. So we see long pink fibers here with the vertical stripes. So because of those vertical stripes here, can you see those going up and down? Yeah, that's the skeletal muscle. That's unique to skeletal muscle. Long pink fibers we see in both skeletal muscle and dense regular collagenous, but these up and down stripes, real regular like that, is skeletal muscle. And how do we classify this one? What group of tissue does it belong to?
Muscle.
Muscle, and where do we find it? Attached to bones. Good. All right, how about this one? It's at the arrow here. This layer of cells, Gina. How would you describe the shape of that? Yeah, simple columnar. And how is that classified? What group of tissue does it belong to? Epithelial, and where do we find it?
Large intestines.
Yeah, digestive tract. All right, the next one here. Tell me your name again.
Regular collagenous.
Yep, dense regular collagenous, because the fibers are all running side to side. We don't see visible vertical stripes. So this is dense regular collagenous. And how would we classify that?
Connective.
Connective, and where would we find it?
Tendons and ligaments.
Tendons and ligaments, good. Okay, how about this one? Again, look at the edges. Do we see layers or, cells connected end to end? No, they're pretty smooth edges. So these are individual cells that are filled with an oil droplet. Looks like chicken wire, doesn't it? So which of those tissues, do you remember? It's a type of connective tissue, but what specific tissue is it? Hyaline cartilage is the fisheye soup. When we look at hyaline cartilage, that's this one. So this is the chicken wire appearing adipose tissue, yeah. And where do we find adipose tissue? Yep, and in the breasts. Okay, this one? Nervous tissue, because you can see these large neurons here with the fibers coming off. Where do we find, how would we classify it? What major category? Nervous, and where do we find it? Yep, brain and spinal cord, and nerves. All right, this one.
The areolar.
Very good, and how did you know it was areolar?
Like little black.
Yeah, the black fibers, like the hair-like structures, kind of messy looking, right? Yeah, where do we find, how do you classify areolar tissue? Let's start with that. Connective, and where do you find it?
Under the skin, around the organs.
Yep, or under the skin and around the organs. This is found in that hypodermis layer of the skin. All right, next, Amy in the back there. Simple columnar, how do you classify it? Epithelial, and where do we find it? Small and large intestine, yep. Stomach, yep. All right, next, in the back.
Is it the dense regular?
Very good, dense regular collagenous or fibrous, because we see those pink fibers running side to side, but I don't see that regular kind of vertical striped appearance. Like, what the tubing that comes out the back of your dryer, that corrugated tubing, that's kind of what skeletal muscle reminds me of. Look for that real regular striped appearance, and we don't see that here. So how would we classify this tissue? Connective, and where would we find it? Tendons and ligaments. Okay, how about this one? Skeletal muscle, yep, because of those vertical stripes. So again, no vertical stripe. I mean, here we see little dark things. I think that's just because the tissue was starting to dry out a little bit, so it's getting wrinkly. But we don't see that regular vertical striped appearance of skeletal muscle. Okay, how about this one? Back to you. Yep. Nervous tissue, how do you classify it? And where do you find it? Brain and spinal cord.
Hyaline cartilage.
Hyaline cartilage, where do you find it? You can name one spot. At the joints, yep. Okay, and how would you classify it?
Connective.
Connective, good. How about this one?
Compact.
Compact bone, how would you classify it?
Connective.
Connective, and where would you find it?
Shaft.
Yep, the shaft of the long bones. How about this one? Haven't looked at this one yet. We see some sloughing at the surface here.
Is that the strap?
Yeah, stratified squamous. See all these layers of flattened cells right here? So this is a slide of our skin, actually. So you find it surface of the skin, right? Or lining the esophagus, anal, or vaginal canal. And how would you classify it? Epithelial. Good. How about this one?
Simple.
Simple squamous. Good. And I know that because this is definitely not adipose, because this is not one cell here. These are airways with simple squamous around the edges forming those airways. So where would we find it?
Walls of the capillaries or your lungs.
Yep. And also, how would we classify it?
Epithelial.
Epithelial. Good. Next, how about this one? Yep, simple squamous again, right? We can see a single layer of cells. So location, lungs, airways, not airways, lungs or capillaries, and it's an epithelial tissue. How about this one? See the hairs? Remember I said to remember this one with the hairs? It's not hairs, it's elastic fibers, but it looks like hair. Areolar. Focus on the E, yeah. So what type of tissue is this? How do you classify it? There's that table. Connective, and where do we find it? Yep, around the organs under the skin. Okay, how about this one? Yep, simple squamous, type of tissue, classified. Epithelial, where do we find it? And capillaries, good, lungs and capillaries. Okay, this one? Okay, how do you classify it? And where do you find it? The shafts of the bones, yep. This one? Yep, fisheye soup, which one is that? Yep, hyaline, what's the full name though? Hyaline cartilage, where do you find it? At the lining the joints and the nose, trachea, larynx, rib cartilages. How do you classify it? Connective. Okay, good. And classify it as? No, the main category is muscle, and then where do we find it? Attaches to bone. So this is the voluntary muscle that we use to move our skeleton. Nervous. How do we classify it? And where is it found? Yep, brain, spinal cord, and nerves. How about this one? Amy, up to you. Okay, loose connective or areolar tissue. Where do we find it? Packed around the organs under the skin, and major classification, connective. This one, very good. Classification, epithelial. Where do we find it? Capillary walls and lungs, simple squamous. Compact bone, classified as? Connective, and we find it? Shafts of the long bones. Just about done here. How about this one? Simple columnar, classified as? Epithelial, and where we find it? Digestive tract. Chicken wire, that's right. Which one is that? Adipose, and classified as? Found under the skin.
Hyaline Cartilage.
Yep, classified as? And found? Nose, that's a good one. This one? loose connective tissue or areolar, classified as
Connected,
connective and found.
it's found around the organs.
Okay. All right, so I think we're just about done. It's at the, well, here's another one. Let's look at this one. Tish, this one's for you.
Oh,
Specially reserved just for you.
I have no idea.
Many layers of flattened cells. See this here?
So, simple squamous.
What is it?
The stratified squamous,
Very good. Stratified squamous and classified as
epithelium.
epithelial. And where do we find it?
Around the esophagus.
Lining the esophagus, anal, vaginal canal, or skin. You could just say the top layer of the skin, stratified squamous. This is our epidermis, right? Stratum corneum of the skin. All right. Last one. How about this one? Simple squamous. Very good. This one, just go around the room, just name it. Adipose. This layer here. Simple columnar. Simple squamous. What? Simple squamous again. Hyaline cartilage. Am I giving you lots of practice on simple squamous? There's a reason. How about this one? Hyaline cartilage, the fish eyes are scattered among this smooth purple soup. There's no soup here, it's all cells. So it's what again? Stratified squamous, yep, stratified squamous. Simple columnar, stratified squamous, simple squamous, nervous. I love that picture. I want to like wallpaper my bathroom in this. Stratified squamous, simple columnar. There, see how smart you guys are now? So make flashcards of these. This would be a great thing to cut out, make flashcards, review them, and you'll ace that part of the test. There's going to be microscope slides that you're going to have to identify for the lab exam.